Right, thanks for joining, everyone. So we'll we'll just get cracking. If anyone else joins, they'll catch up. Okay, so today is really about our ceiling speakers and why they're particularly good for retrofit projects. Okay, they're obviously good for many other applications, from new builds to apartments to hotels, lots of things. But for renovations and retrofit style projects, they're just particularly good. A good solution. So we'll just explore that topic a little bit today. And so just a little bit, what we're going to do for the next half hour odd is you get to know a little bit about us, just what we're all about, some typical scenarios that you will be faced as installers, that you probably have come across, and we'll hopefully have the right solutions for some of those problems, challenges, and then just dig into the products a little bit so you get to understand what they're all about and their applications. Okay. If you've got any questions, just type them in the chat window, and at the end we'll just answer any questions that you have on the products. Okay. So just a bit about us. So we are a relatively new company. We only started 4 years ago. So in the big grand scheme of audio and companies, we are like really new, but that doesn't mean we're not good. That we have come, we are basically designers at heart. So we're privately owned. There's me and Wes. We own 50-50 of the company. We both have background in product design, and we've worked on projects from the world's largest planetarium, and done the projection systems for that, to the military fighter jets, which was a cool project. We did some work on that, and then we've done toasters, kettles, coffee machines, to switches, sockets, wiring accessories, and now we're tackling the world of audio, and just putting our skill set to that. So we're really just designers. We're not salespeople. We're not interested in that. We have John, our sales commercial director, who does that side of it, but me and Wes are just sit there, design and develop. Okay, and we do that we don't just buy stuff and badge it from the Far East. We are genuinely looking at problems out there in the industry, challenges that people face, end users, as well as and installers. What are the challenges that are out there, and then we find the right solutions for that, as well as then go to design, engineer, and that's from PCB design to the actual CAD for the tooling, to app design, to literally everything that we do. We do it ourselves. Basically, is the key. Normally, you would have it's quite complex, but me and Wes have got the skill set to do that. So we genuinely do the whole design process in-house. Okay, and then we manufacture, and then we work quite hard on promoting the products through trade shows, events, and good marketing material, from photography to videos and that. So it's all to make it easier for everyone to sell the products. Us to you, you to your customer, and the customer to their family member. Okay. And then everything, just how we think, if the product we design or develop is genuinely not solving a problem, or innovative, unique, doesn't add any value to, the installer, from, a monetary value as well as ease of install and a problem solver for the installer, and from a business point of view, everyone's making some money along the way, and the end user's getting a good product. If the answer to one of these is no, we'll go back to the drawing board and won't develop the product, basically, until all of these are satisfied. So we're not just box shifters. We're developing proper products that will solve real world challenges. This is what it's all about. And we really focus. So normally, speaker brands have got many different types of speakers, from floor standings to on walls, all sorts. We are solely, at this moment in time anyway, we are solely focused on making ceiling speakers easy and more accessible to a much wider customer base is the idea. Okay, so and that is easy to install. So we've worked really hard to really think, and we work with quite a few installers. We do quite a few CEDIA events and that. So we work with quite a few installers and make sure that the product is easy to install, which is key, because that will open up a much wider potential customer base for ceiling speakers. Easy to use for, the idea is a 5-year-old or a 85-year-old is able to basically use the product. So, and easy to explain, and that's for me to explain to you guys what the whole thing's all about, you to explain to your customers or your clients, and then for whoever's in that house, usually there's one person who's like championing this to explain to their family. So it's not a product that someone just installs and then they never use. This is the type of thing that will get used daily if people can understand it and it's easy. So we really focused in on making it work for everybody in the whole chain there. Okay. So this is just an example, a real life example of what I'm sure you've come across somewhere along your journey. So it's a typical project. Okay, so a couple that's renovating their home, they're already quite a long way through into their project, and then they decide, okay, actually I'd quite like ceiling speakers and I want 6 zones of audio. I'd quite like some smart home automation going on as well, so if we can integrate with some smart home tech as well, and I want it all controllable from my iPad or iPhone. Okay, so this is a typical example of somebody that wants it, but they've come late to the party, basically. Okay, you can smell the paint drying when you've walked into that project to try and help them. And then the customer always wants. Okay, they want in-ceiling speakers. They want them on a budget. Regardless what budget that is, that may be high or low, but they're going to have some expectation of budget. They want zones, they want integration with smart tech that's out there. They want it for everybody, but they don't want any mess, okay? And they don't want any fuss. They've just plastered, they've just put their fancy new wallpaper up, so don't touch my walls, okay? So that's a typical, thing that happens. And these are the types of challenges that are often faced when you're going into retrofit or renovation type projects, okay? Running cables in the walls is just difficult. If it's a renovation project, that is just a difficult thing to do, or it's expensive, or the client's giving resistance to that for obvious reasons because they've decorated, and you've obviously been called late to the party. If you were called a month ago as an installer or the project, a month or 2 ago, many other options are available out there. But on a renovation project, it's and you're called in late, there's not too many viable options out there. Okay. Typical challenge. Budget, often price is a real factor out there. Ceiling speakers historically have been for the top end of the market, because you need to have quite a lot of equipment and cabling and install. That is quite a niche top end of that market. There's a much larger customer base that aspire to that but don't necessarily have the budgets available. And now there's solutions like ours that will fit that. And then they want AirPlay and all this other stuff, or they've used up all the channels on their existing amps, but they want another zone added somewhere else. These are all challenges and problems that come out there. And then as an installer or someone who's specifying that project, you've effectively got 3 solutions to offer to the client. If someone wants ceiling speakers, you're going to go through the decision-making process of what is right for this client. So you've either got distributed audio, which is amp, preamp amp, cables, passive speakers. So this type of system's good where you have multiple zones, lots of areas, lots of speakers, and you want to integrate with a whole control system. It's a good solution. But maybe for a renovation and retrofit style project, such as our customer who wants 6 zones of audio, this may be a little bit overkill for that type of project. Then there's the wireless amplifiers and wired speakers. So these would be your Sonoses, your Denon EOS, and that world where you would have an amplifier per zone that you want to have, and then you run cables and passive speakers. So this would have been a viable solution if you were called in a month or two ago when the walls were down and you could access and run cables everywhere. You would also need space for all these amps, so you would have to have considered, where do you put do you put a rack in? Do you use a cupboard space? Where does all this get housed? Okay, and then there's the third option, which is our I guess new option to the table, which is the wireless ceiling speakers. So these are an all-in-one solution which have got everything built in. So fundamentally, you don't need the cables in the walls, which means that you've got it's just good for renovations and retrofit style projects. So what is the Lythe solution? So essentially, it's number one, easy to install, because it's an all-in-one system. We'll explore that in a second. We've got single room, single zone, or multi-room options. So depending on what the client's needs are, they're super easy to use. You can use an iPhone or a smartphone. You can use our speakers. Is how we think, and then they're great value for the customer, because our whole premise when we started this 4 years ago is we want to make ceiling speakers accessible to a much wider customer base. Okay, and that to do that it has to be affordable for a much larger percentage of people, and it's got to be easier to install. Okay. And so it is good value. We'll talk about the prices in a bit, but they're good value, and we've made sure that there's good margin in there for everyone. Everyone in the distribution chain. From the distributor to the dealers to installers, and good price for the end user. So hopefully it's good. That makes it good value is the idea. Then we've got integrations, so from Amazon Alexa for the lower end all the way to Control 4 at the top end. And our products will integrate into different systems for different reasons. We will explore that. And really key with all our products is that you do not need cables in the walls. You just got to get power to them, typically from a lighting circuit, which is running around most people's ceilings. And that's basically the core of our solution. And we have two options. We have the Bluetooth range, and we also have Wi-Fi / AirPlay version. So this is basically Bluetooth's our single room solution, and then Wi-Fi is the full multi-room solution. So depending on the project, the application, the budget, the needs, one of these should be the right solution for the customer. If they can't run cables in the walls. Even if they can run cables in the walls, both of these are just still really good, viable solutions. And end of the day, customer just wants to open, say, Spotify and play their music through whatever room they have. So those are the two types of options we have. Okay, so we'll just explore into the products a little bit more. So firstly, the Bluetooth ceiling speaker. So this one is basically a true all-in-one system. Okay, so you can see there in the camera. So this has got absolutely everything you need for an in-ceiling speaker all built in. So that's the amplifier in the back section. You've got the ceiling speaker, which is, these are Kevlar cones, titanium tweeters, so really good quality speakers. And everything else in between. So that's your Bluetooth, all your connections, all your spiders, the rubber components. So they're all really good spec components all within there. But that, by nature of it being an all-in-one system, with everything, all you got to get to it is power. And if you effectively look up in a room and you've got lighting going around, you've got power. You've got ideally you want to tap into a permanent live feed. So, which we'll explain in a sec, but you just got to get power to it, and that's either via a lighting circuit or from any power circuit you've got available. So, what that in turn does is, again, that opening up a much larger potential of customers for ceiling speakers that are out there. So in ours, we use the latest in Bluetooth technology. So Bluetooth has been around a long time, it's in people's cars and little portable speakers and headphones and whatnot. And for the last 10 years, that's pretty much been Bluetooth 4 or Bluetooth 4.2. Okay, so that's the standard of Bluetooth. So Bluetooth 5 is the latest standard. It was launched late last year for audio products like this. And what that gives you is quite a significant change from old Bluetooth, which fundamentally means you get the core one is you get a 30-meter range. Okay, and that's huge. If you think about it, old Bluetooth 4 or 4.2, that had a 10-meter range. So as you left the room, your audio would disconnect and you a crackle and then disconnect. Whereas 30 meters is quite a long way, and if you say had a pair in your kitchen diner, you could walk around your whole house with your phone in your pocket and it would stay connected. So in real world, how people use products, people are glued to their phones, it will not disconnect and it will work. Okay, so that is because of Bluetooth 5 that we've got 30 meter range. Then they will work with Amazon Alexa and Google Home. Okay, so these devices are, they're quite popular. Like, just to give you an idea, Amazon have sold over 100 million of these little dots and other Echo devices, like worldwide. That's an awful lot of these products all over the place. Google, I don't know how many they've sold, but it's a lot, all over the world. So there's a lot of people that have bought into this ecosystem, usually at the lower end of the market. I wouldn't say lower, but the people that are just the mass market is what that have this. The speakers on there are good for asking the weather and the news, but not for really playing music. Whereas these have got Bluetooth built in, and they will connect completely wirelessly to our speakers. So that in a kitchen or a bedroom, sort of setup, just makes it a really, really good setup. A consumer's going to feel like they've got a smart home going. You feel like a bit in an Iron Man house where you talk and the house talks back at you, but for a really reasonable cost, and they're still getting good. It's like a gateway into smart home, but still really good. Okay, and the other thing that we've put into these are low latency chipsets. Okay, and this is all part of Bluetooth 5 again. So, and what that gives you is the ability to connect completely wirelessly to a TV, and you do not get any lip sync. So audio and video is perfectly in time. So this is great for a kitchen TV or a bedroom TV, with a pair of speakers running. So really nice setup, completely wireless. I wouldn't say our ceiling speakers are the right solution for someone's living room where they want, a Dolby Atmos and surround sound system. That's a different product. But for a kitchen TV or a bedroom TV, then our speakers are perfect for that sort of setup. Okay. And then what we've done is, because it's an all-in-one solution, we have complete control of every element of the product, and we can deliver crystal clear audio. Okay, because what we've done is we've optimized this speaker for in ceilings. So normally, the traditional way is that you would have an amp, which could be any brand. You'd run speaker cable, which can be varying quality speaker cable, and then you would put a passive speaker at the other end, which could be hundreds of different brands and products that are out there. So there's many variables there, which all of that packaged together makes a huge difference on the actual end result of the audio that comes out into that room. Whereas because we're in control of the amp, the speaker construction, everything in between, we're able to fine tune that speaker for use in ceilings, and you just can't go wrong. Again, it's all going back to making it easy. You just put it in and it's going to sound good. You can tweak the EQ settings and do everything if you want to, but fundamentally the end user can't mess it up. And from an installer, it's just fast, straight in, and you're confident it's going to sound good straight out the box. Okay. And then we have other inputs and outputs. There's RCA inputs for hardwiring turntables, old iPads, completely optional. It's auto sensing, as soon as it gets a signal, the product powers up and starts playing. It's a really nice added option. Most people Bluetooth, but it's there for certain scenarios, like adding projectors in meeting rooms and other applications. And then we do the same product. So the Kevlar cone one's for like kitchens, bedrooms, general rooms. And then we do one which is fully IP rated for bathrooms, and that's fully waterproof. They're actually really popular because there's not many plug points in a bathroom, or none. So your options are portable speakers that are probably dead when you want to use it, or a proper in-ceiling speaker that's waterproof. Can't put it above the shower cubicle, but anywhere else in the bathroom. So zone 2 of a bathroom, basically. And you're going to get a really good audio system in there. From an installation side, they are really the idea is just add power. So you've got to find power usually from a lighting circuit. If you're doing that, you want to tap into the permanent live feed. So obviously houses are wired in different ways and in different countries. So you need to, if your permanent live feed is running around the ceiling, that's nice and easy. Just tap into that. If they're running from switch to switch, then you need to either run cable up if you can, or tap into another circuit which is running around, which could be a power circuit or if you have an extractor hood, a fan, doesn't matter what it is, it just needs to be a power circuit. Okay, so out of the box they actually come supplied with a 13 amp plug. In the UK, if you're in other countries, you get the appropriate plugs, like from Schuko plugs in France to Australian, etc. So you can, if you want, literally cut the hole, and if you've got plug points available, say in an upstairs bathroom and you've got plugs in the loft, you can cut the hole and plug it in. It's as simple as that. Okay, each master speaker, so the ones with the amps, they're capable of powering 2 speakers, the one on board plus 1 passive speaker. So you would run speaker cable from these gold speaker posts there, and you would run to a passive one. Okay. And then you've got full stereo, effectively. The master speaker would always be the left channel, and the passive speaker the right channel. That's important to know because if you're using it, say, for a kitchen TV and connected, you want to make sure that the one with the amp as you look at the TV, is towards the left-hand side. Otherwise, it's going to sound backwards. Okay. Then there is also you can see there's a stereo mono switch there. And what that is, so you can choose between that what output the speaker does. So if you've got a kitchen diner, you put it in stereo. If you were doing a bedroom ensuite setup with a door in the middle, or a hotel room or something like that, you put it on mono, then both speakers are going to output the left and right channel out of each speaker. So just depending on the scenario, that's what that's for there. And then from the connections point, it is the RCA input for anything hardwired and Bluetooth for anything wireless straight into it. The other thing that we always recommend that people install are these fire and acoustic hoods. So these are made out of fire retardant material and acoustic foam. So that there is basically goes in the ceiling, and you would scrunch it up and go through the hole, pop it out in the ceiling, and then your speaker would basically, go in there in the ceiling. So that will do a couple of things. So number one, it's going to maintain the fire integrity of your ceiling. So these are building regulations in the UK and around the world. I'm sure they're similar, but it varies from country to country. But because you're cutting a big hole in your ceiling, it's not that the speaker's going to catch fire, but that will stop the spread of fire throughout your property. It's really important that those are installed. Then the other thing they do is they stop the spread of sound dispersion in your ceiling cavity and going up to the other floors. So quite important in hotel projects or apartments or even in people's homes. You've got bedrooms upstairs. And then thirdly, they also will improve the acoustics of the speaker because you're effectively creating, not quite as good as making a box in your ceiling, but it is still creating some sort of box-ish because they have acoustic foam inside, so they will improve the acoustics of the speaker. So from an install point of view, super simple, magnetic grille, 4 screws, that goes in, these come down, clamp on your plasterboard in the ceiling, you've got your hood in there, and you're adding power. It's no different than adding a spotlight in the ceiling. Effectively, that is all you've got to do. Then another good feature is Lithe Link. So what that is see the green and pink connections there. Those are line in and line out connections. So, for example, if you had an open plan living area with, say, Master A is your living room, Master B is your dining room, and Master C there is your kitchen, so you had a pair in each room, you could link the masters together. So you go out of the living room one into the dining room, out of the dining and into the kitchen. And important to note that that's a 3.5 jack-to-jack cable, so like headphones at either end. That cable there can be, 10 meters long. We recommend not to go over 15 meters, otherwise you'll start losing a little bit of quality in the audio and volume. The resistance values will go up too much. And we also recommend you putting in a ground loop isolator. Okay? So what that is obviously that cable can be quite long, so say 10 meters, and that is effectively can act like an aerial in your ceiling, and that will pick up electrical interference and noise. Well, it can do. And if you don't have a ground loop in there, the signal will go straight into the amplifier of here, and you will hear like a humming, sort of buzzing type noise, low frequency hum, which obviously you don't want. Put a ground loop isolator in, and that basically cleans that signal up before it hits that amplifier, and then you do not get any hum, or you'll get crystal clear audio. These things are relatively cheap. They're like £5, around that sort of money. You may not need it, but if you're going to do this type of setup, we just recommend you put it in, because it's just belt and braces. You're just future-proofing just in case that something changes in that environment and this cable picks up some electrical noise interference. So you use a shielded cable anyway, and then you're halfway safe anyway. So say you've done that, you've linked them up like so. You, or the client, the customer in the home, would connect their phone to the living room. All 6 speakers are going to play. So, party, friends over, whole floor is going. Okay. Connect your phone to the dining room speaker, just the dining room and kitchen will play. So it gives a little bit of zoning. Connect your phone to the kitchen, just the kitchen speaker will play. So that setup is really nice for an open plan living area, where it gives a little bit of zoning and a little bit of multi-room, but not quite the flexibility that Wi-Fi will give you, but it will give you that grouping ability there. So really good for open plan. Then say, for example, you wanted, say you added another cable going out of that one and back into the first one. Now, regardless of which speaker I connect to, all 6 will always play. So that's really good for, small shops, hairdressers, larger rooms, home, small gyms, spa things. We've done lots of projects where you want quite a few speakers, but it's always one zone, okay, and they're going to play together. So a good feature for like linking. Again, none of this needs cables in the walls, so good for all these restaurant renovations and hairdresser renovations and upgrades of projects. Okay. So once you've got them in the ceiling, just going back to this one, so say you had the living room, kitchen and dining room, out of the box they're all going to be called Lithe Audio BT. So on your phone, that's how they're going to appear. So obviously that's not practical in real life, when the client's trying to use it. So we have a setup app. So we've just launched this actually a couple of weeks ago. And again, this is possible because we have Bluetooth 5 chips, which are the latest standard, that you would install, then connect your phone, open the app, and then you can change the name of each speaker. So it's nice and easy to identify on your phone. You can change the PIN and the password of each speaker. So really important if it's going in apartment blocks, or if it's going in a hotel project, or if you don't get on with the neighbours either side for any reason, you want to have a password on that speaker. Or you can turn the password completely off. So the Amazon Alexas and the Google Docs that are out there, they they don't want a password. There's no physical keypad or anything on here to connect. So you can, through the app, just turn the PIN code completely off, and then these will connect. Alexa will actually connect to if a device that has 4 zeros as the PIN or no PIN. Google will it can't connect to anything with a password. So, but you can set all that up for the customer even before they've got the product. You can plug it in on a countertop effectively, set it all up, go to the job and install. So it's nice and easy to do. Then the aux input. So this is a new feature we've added, which is quite useful. So the aux input on the side there. So say you had a turntable connected. Normally you would have a turntable, then you might have an amp which has all the volume control, and then you have speaker cable and passive speakers. But because we have done it so that you just go straight out of the turntable straight into the speaker, because it's all self-amplified, there's no volume controller as such. So you can now control the volume straight through the app for the aux input line-in function. So really useful. Sit on the sofa and turn up your volume, etc. Straight from there. So applications of where people are going to use these products. So I'd say probably 80% of the Bluetooth ones are going to end up in people's kitchens, bedrooms, bathrooms, people doing extensions, renovations. So where there are smaller projects, where they will have one or two rooms done, maybe they're just updating their kitchen. They're not doing a whole big job, whole self-build or anything like that. They are just buying a new kitchen from a kitchen shop and upgrading. And that is what the people that will want ceiling speakers, but without all the big systems. So that's where I'd say a lot of ours go in. Anyone who's just renovating or retrofitting really their properties. Extensions where you want a couple of zones, but you're not interested in grouping and zoning, like the full multi-room side. The Bluetooth one, perfect. And the other side, which we do quite a few of these type of projects, are the hotel projects, because obviously we can change the name, the password of each speaker. There's also another switch here, that little switch there, that toggle one is a volume cap switch. So you can cap the volume to 50%. So the guests in the hotel room can't crank it up, basically. So good for apartment blocks and hotels. And from a maintenance point of view, the hotels will be thinking about, what if something goes wrong? You or the hotel maintenance guys will know that if there's a problem, the problem is there. There's no fault finding. They know where it is. And it's simply 4 screws, drops out, new one goes in. So there's virtually zero downtime for a room that their audio system, for whatever reason, is not working. And that side of it is quite a large part of our business as well, is because they're just so much better than the old type of systems. People nowadays just want to go in with their own tablet or phone and just connect their own music service that they subscribe to, which could be Spotify, Apple Music, whatever it might be, watch Netflix. So it's a much more modern way of using ceiling speakers in hotels. And just some examples, we've done the Morpheus in Macau, which is a really prestigious big hotel there. So they've got 640 rooms and a lot of speakers. The Ritz in London, they're doing a renovation project. So as they're renovating their suites, our ceiling speakers are going in. And a couple of Marriotts around the world. Qatar one's just been finished. So they pose a really big opportunity for, again, it's the whole renovation, retrofit, upgrading hotel rooms, which they typically do every 7 years in the hotel industry. So there's always a continuous stream of people that will do these type of products in there. And just other ideas for applications, garden rooms, restaurants, shops, schools, where they connect to projectors or meeting rooms. We've even done operating theatres around the world, which are obviously quite sterile environments where they want no countertop products. They put our ceiling speakers in, open heart surgery, listening to classical music, that sort of thing. So we've done these all around the world. And then apartment blocks and housing developers, that side of it as well. So if you think about it, for that particular market, they want to have they want to add a bit of the smart tech, depending on what level of housing it is and value, but they often don't want to spend lots of money on a full control system. But if it's like a 300, 400,000 pound house, they're never going to do that. But if it's but they may put in a 200 pound ceiling speaker in the kitchen, and the end user can connect an Alexa. They're feeling like they're getting a bit of smart home for a much cheaper price point. So there's many opportunities for that side of thing. So what it's all about is all about offering many more opportunities. Ceiling speakers are no longer just for the top end market. Anyone who is renovating or retrofitting, a new kitchen, bathroom, or putting an extension on, just upgrading something, they can now have a good viable solution for putting ceiling speakers into their ceiling. Okay. So then there's the Wi-Fi model. So pretty much the same concept, all in one. Add power, but it has Wi-Fi and it has AirPlay built in as opposed to the Bluetooth. And these were finalists at CEDIA Awards for best new product, and obviously we're only a four-year-old company, and CEDIA, who obviously know what they're talking about, are recognised that there's a future for this type of product, and it's a genuine problem solver in the industry, which is why we were up for that award. So from a system point of view, it is same as Bluetooth, apart from this gives you multi-room, the ability to group, zone, and play multiple rooms together. The amplifier on board slightly more powerful, so it would be a bit louder, and the bandwidth that Wi-Fi carries versus Bluetooth is slightly higher, so the sound quality will be a little bit better. But it's margin, it's small, but you can hear the difference. But in essence, the systems are the same. What's different is the connectivity. So instead of Bluetooth, they're Wi-Fi, so that each speaker connects back to your home Wi-Fi network. And that, just slightly different point, that is the key to making the Wi-Fi ones like a real seamless experience, is to have a good Wi-Fi network. Often customers will have a free router that they've got from BT or someone, their service provider 5 years ago, and then they're trying to integrate and use all this smart tech that's out there, which is all connected to your network, and they just weren't built for it. Wi-Fi is like your gas, electricity, water, and Wi-Fi. So it is so important for people's lives. So even if you are cross-selling and upselling, Wi-Fi is the one to do. Put in a good network for someone, it's just going to benefit their lives in general, not just for our products, just for life. It's so important nowadays and going into the future. So they Wi-Fi, so it all groups and syncs through that network. Then they have AirPlay, which we'll go on to in a second. Then they have Spotify Connect. So from a user experience, it's just super easy. Open Spotify, all your speakers appear within Spotify, and you just play. So you don't have to go into anywhere else apart from the Spotify app. So it's a really nice integration with them. And then if you're using other devices, you've got DLNA and UPnP. If you want, if you've got NAS drive connected, you can access all your music through the network. And then there's a line in for any hardwired connection. Those are the connections for the Wi-Fi ones. So really exciting as well. So we have got AirPlay built in. They're soon to get an upgrade to AirPlay 2, which I think is actually going to be quite an interesting thing in the market for that layer. What it enables you to do is do multi-room, multi-brand multi-room. So you can see this is my house. So I've got multiple speakers all over the house. I've got different brands. I've got a BO sound stage, Sonos in the living room, some other our speakers everywhere else, and I can literally go tick, tick, tick. You click on those circles, and it will group all those speakers all directly within like straight through my Apple phone, and then I can open any app at all. So I'm not restricted. I can put, YouTube, Spotify, Tidal, anything that I want to play. I can vary the volume of each one and then just hit play. So it gives you the ability to have full multi-room, but without all the usual infrastructure that is required from amps and cables and everything else. It's all done through the Wi-Fi network through AirPlay. But the ability to have multiple brands working together, as long as they're an AirPlay 2 certified speaker, then it will all work seamlessly all together. The other side it will give is Apple HomeKit. So what I've done in my bathrooms, I've got a Philips Hue bulbs with a Philips Hue motion sensor along with our Wi-Fi ceiling speaker in there. So now when anyone walks into that bathroom, motion sensor goes off, the lights come on, and it plays like soft jazz music at the moment, just in there. So it gives a really nice feel of a little bit of home automation, but without all the usual equipment that you would need to do that at a much lower price point. So for a certain customer base and depending on what they're after, it's a really good solution. And again, for the retrofit market, it's just a nice way to get some audio and lighting and other things integrated through Apple HomeKit. Okay, so really nice new features releasing as well. Our app, we've tried to make it as simple as possible. There's really just 4 usable screens, one loading up screen. And so that's one's for grouping, one's your player, one's your sources, and then your setup. So it's really intuitive and easy. Once you guys have done your install or selling it, the consumers should be able to manage everything else themselves. So it's nice and simple. Once you've installed the product, you want to set it up for the client so that through the app you can change the name of each speaker. There's some advanced settings which are really for the installer. If you put the IP address in a web browser, you can access a whole load of advanced settings where you can fix the IP address. You can change SSIDs and do all sorts of other more network-based setups. You may need to do that if you're using access points and different types of networks, but for a general setup, you probably don't have to mess around with it. You just add it to your home network, which is very easy to do. You press the button for 5 seconds and it will appear on your network, add in a few passwords, and you're good to go. So you just set it up. It's really simple. You can change the volume of each individual speaker if it's within a group. And a nice thing, another good problem solver is, say you had a kitchen diner, but the joists are running the wrong way, and you can't physically run speaker cable and do a pair that way. You could put 2 master speakers in, get power to them, obviously, you have to still do that. And then you can set one as your left channel, one as your right channel, and you've got full stereo in that room. And that could be 2 pairs, one pair there, so you've got a 4 speaker set up with 2 pairs, one set as your left channel, one as your right. So it'll give you a really nice, it's a good problem solver, I guess, in some scenarios. And if there's a firmware update like AirPlay 2, a button appears here and you just press the button and it does it over the cloud, download and upload straight up. And that is it. So that's really clean, simple setup. And the sources you have are Spotify Connect. You've got Deezer, Tidal, TuneIn, VTuner. So they're the app inbuilt sources. And then you've got any local music that you have on your device that you can play. If you've got a NAS drive connected, and if you've got an aux input connected into there as well. So just on the aux, that actually works in 2 ways. So if you have something connected in there, that is an auto sensing input. So say you had a TV connected, you don't have to touch anything. You don't have to go into the app and turn it on. It will automatically detect a signal and play the audio. Okay. What this is for distributing audio throughout all your other groups. So say you had 5 pairs of speakers all grouped together as one zone, which you would just group through the app, just drag and drop. And you had on the master speaker, you had your turntables connected to it. Then you turn this on, and that will wirelessly distribute that turntable music throughout all your 5 of your zones, but with no cables. Again, linking any of that together. It's all doing it through your Wi-Fi network. So that's important to note that distributing the audio through the Wi-Fi network is not good for TV and video because you will get lag and latency. If you're doing TV, that is from that wired connection up to that one TV, okay, with the Wi-Fi ones. What this is for music. If you're playing the radio on your TV and you're distributing it, it's fine, or if you've got a turntable. but it will wirelessly distribute music. And the other thing to note is if you're an Android user in doing it on the Google Play Store, these are the sources that are available to you. Okay, so these are the major ones: Spotify, Deezer, Tidal, Radio, Local Music. But you cannot play, say, Apple Music or Amazon Music or YouTube if you're an Android user. Okay, obviously if you're an Apple user, you've got AirPlay, so you can play absolutely anything you want straight through that protocol. But just dependent on your client, if they are purely Android, then these are the sources available through the Wi-Fi. Maybe the Bluetooth ones are a right solution for them, or so it's just knowing what your client's needs are. Then the other end of the market, the more top end of the market, where they have a whole control system. So Control4, which is a full-on home automation system, as most of you obviously know, then that will, for that setup, the likelihood is that they're going to have a rack, and they're going to have space to have amps, and they're going to wire it in the traditional way, because that's typically what these projects are. But so say you had an 8-channel amp or a 16-channel, and they're going to have speaker cable going everywhere. Then a year later, or the client decides, I'm going to upgrade my bathroom, or I've put an extension on, and I want some ceiling speakers put in there. The choice is either add another amp, or if you've run out of channels, you have to add another amp, or use your existing and chase your cables everywhere. That's not always possible, but with our product, with the Wi-Fi ones, you can simply add them in as normal, add power, and then we have the drivers in there, which basically means you can integrate completely wirelessly through the Wi-Fi network into that control system, and it will appear on the usual, the interface, the Control4 interface, which is like an iPad or their own version, and you can take control of it. So really good as a problem solver for that end of the market, and also for other, like we're just doing a project in Dubai where they're doing, it's like hundreds of apartment blocks which they're building, and what they've done is they've put a Control4 like a hub, like the brains in there with the very basic system in, and then they're offering the client, whoever buys the apartment, upgrade packages of, do you want to add audio? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And for that, price is quite sensitive because they don't want to run the cables and put the infrastructure if the client isn't going to buy it. So what they're doing is they offer our speakers as the audio solution as part of that. Put a pair in the kitchens, bedroom, bathrooms of that setup. So for like where price is a factor for like apartments and MDU projects, and they're using a control system, then ours is another good solution for that. So this is developed by a company called Chow Mein, the driver, who's basically a very good driver writer. So in that world. But yeah, we integrate with that. Also integrate with Fabaro and Loxone, which are two other control systems. So I have Loxone in one of my properties. So this will, and that's just a really nice integration if you're doing like full home control. It's a little bit retrofit as well, so you can add, and same with Fabaro as well. So a really good integration, and this is just the beginning. There'll be many, many more integrations as time goes on. And from a connections, exactly the same as Bluetooth, add power. No real difference, just the connectivity is through the Wi-Fi network rather than through the Bluetooth. So very, very easy install. And who uses it is mainly for larger home projects where you want multiple zones, the ability to group, and even if it's just a couple of zones but quite a few speakers, and you want the flexibility to play just in the kitchen, just in the living room, whereas Bluetooth just gives you a little bit of flexibility. This gives you full control. And then the other end is the control, like I just explained for the smart home industry as well. And then we've got the other side is if you're an Apple user and you're into HomeKit and you just want AirPlay, they're the people that will buy the Wi-Fi one as well. But again, there's all of these type of projects. People may be renovating an old property. It may be price that's the factor. Then our product is just a good solution. So just going back to the other back to our example in the very beginning of the consumer who's got that project where they want 6 zones of audio. So knowing what we know, what we would recommend for that particular project would probably be the Wi-Fi ones, because they can group and zone and they can play the whole house together if they want to. They can integrate with a home automation system like Fubaro, or which is also a retrofit style solution. And it's obviously retrofit, so there's no cables in the walls required. So probably the Wi-Fi one is what we would recommend for that particular project. If they were just doing the kitchen diner and not doing the rest of the house, I'd probably say do the Bluetooth ones. It's a lower price point, will do the job. They're going to be a real happy customer as well. And a typical 6-zone setup is kitchens, bedrooms, bathrooms. That is typically what you're going to be getting in a home. And just to give you an indication of the prices of what us compared to others, if the choice was to go with a full distributed audio system, then you've got amps. There's a lot of cabling and etc. in there. And you would need preamps, amps, cables, somewhere to house all of that, and you're probably at 6,500 odd. Obviously, these prices are a guide because there's many different brands and products within brands. So just as a loose guide, if you were going the wireless amp and wired speakers, so this is your your like Sonoses and Denon Hioses. The amps are typically between £400 and £600 plus cabling, plus passive speakers. So you're at like £800 to £1,000 for a zone, and you've got to house all that stuff. So for many retrofit and renovation type projects, can be quite a lot. And then obviously our solutions, our Wi-Fi pairs, a master and a passive, are £400, with like retail price in the UK, including VAT, is £400 for a pair, 330 for a single one. 360 for a waterproof one for bathrooms. So and if you top that up for a 6-zone setup, you're less than half the cost of the other types of systems. And not that cost is always a factor, but they are just less cost, and the end result's the same. Open Spotify or Apple Music and stream your music straight to your speakers. And ultimately, a lot of people may not be able to afford even £5,000 for a full audio system. Or it's come towards the end of their renovation and project, and they've gone over budget. Rather than say no to a customer, or no, that's your only option, we're giving another viable option at a lower price point. It's not to say it's any worse a product. It's just the way we've constructed it and designed it that we can sell it for a good value end of the day. And just where do we fit in the marketplace? So just usually the decision-making process between the customer and the installer or the reseller is, what sort of budget do you have? Is budget a concern? Or, money's not an issue, I just need the right product. Or actually, I don't want to spend too much on an audio system, but I want ceiling speakers. And the other side from an install is like, what can you run cables everywhere? You'll be thinking about how easy and difficult this system is to install. If the answer to those is that the client wants something good but doesn't want to spend top end money, and cabling is difficult, in many renovation and retrofit style projects, then really that's where we fit in, and we offer good solutions for that market. If they want multi-room or AirPlay, then the Wi-Fi ones. And if it's a single room project, and a slightly lower price point as well, then Bluetooth is the right is the right product for them. So that's where we sort of fit into the marketplace, really. Okay, so that's the products and what we do. We also have a Pro Installer program, which I know a few of you guys have signed up for. So this is the whole idea behind this, is because we don't sell directly to the public, we're the manufacturers and make these things, the program helps put the end users to find a good installer. okay, that knows about the products, and also where to, like, for installers to know where to buy the products, and so that there's like, it's just puts everyone together, really, everyone in the circle that's going to be involved at some point together. So there's a map on our website which you'll get pinned, hopefully drive some business your way as well. And then there's a beta testing program where, like AirPlay 2, we've got some beta testers who are playing around, testing, debugging, just using the product before launch. So you get early access to new firmwares and upgrades. And then you also obviously get kept up to date with all the latest products as and when we release them, or actually before we release them as pro installers. Okay, so it's just a good program. It's all free. You get a welcome pack, and it's just a way of bringing everyone together. The future of so obviously, as I said, we're only a 4-year-old company, but we actually have we have quite high aspirations to become a good long-term, like, reputable brand and develop many new products into the future. And we are really forward-thinking. Like our view is in 20 years' time, which is where we've got a long-term view, is that the world is going to be a much more wireless place. Okay, there'll still be wired solutions, there will still be wired solutions, but the wireless arena will grow and be much, much larger. And it's already starting now with Wi-Fi 6 networks, which are designed to handle much higher bandwidth of data and multiple endpoints, like thousands, even millions in some cases of endpoints. So it's already starting now, and the future is only going to get more and more. In the world of the Internet of Things, and that world is going to grow. We are just going to provide solutions and products that integrate in that world, but also the more wired control systems that will be out there. And that way, we're tackling that end of the market, which is the Internet of Things Alexa end, and also the very top end, we're a genuine problem solver and solution for that end of the market as well. But both will exist for different people. And ultimately, what our products do is it opens up ceiling speakers to a much wider market. So, as I said, traditionally it was for that top end market. Now there should be no reason anyone who wants ceiling speakers cannot fit them in. As long as you get power to them, that's the only thing. It just gives many, many more opportunities. There's a much, much bigger retrofit and renovation market out there that our products just give a good solution for that end of the market. All right, thank you, everyone.